Bonjour classe, nous allons faire une révision des adjectifs en français. Vous avez déjà appris beaucoup de choses au sujet des adjectifs aux premières années de français. Mais nous allons mettre toute cette information dans un lieu pour étudier. Si vous n'avez pas entendu, écoutez une autre fois, mais je vais vous expliquer en anglais. Basically, what I'm telling you is that during the first few years of learning French, you've learned a lot of different rules about adjectives. But now we're going to put those rules together so that you can have it all in one place. In particular, we're going to learn which adjectives are going to precede your nouns versus which ones are going to come after the noun. Okay, on y va. Descriptive adjectives and adjective agreement. Look at the picture. This is from the court-métrage that we have watched in this chapter. Il dit, j'ai lu qu'il y avait en France près de 5 millions de femmes célibataires. L'adjectif dans cette phrase, c'est célibataire. Adjectives in French agree in gender and in number with the nouns that they modify. Masculine adjectives with these endings derive irregular feminine forms. Répétez après moi. Masculin, blanc. Féminin, blanche. You know that word means white. Now look at the word that means frank or honest. Franc and franche. You've learned the word for handsome or beautiful, depending on what it precedes in terms of meaning, not in terms of gender. It tells us if it means handsome or beautiful. So for example, we have beau or belle. Then we have the words for new, nouveau, or nouvelle. So if I say, j'ai une belle maison, I have a beautiful house. J'ai un bel appartement, I have a beautiful apartment. But if I say, j'ai un beau jardin, I don't usually say that I have a handsome garden. I say, I have a beautiful garden. So it goes by meaning, not so much by the gender of the word in terms of whether you translate it beautiful or handsome. Mais, voilà mon beau ami. No, we wouldn't use that, so cut that out. We have the word cruel and cruel. Intellectuel, intellectuelle. You see that doubling of the consonant before we add the E. Quite a number of adjectives in French do that. Ancien, ancienne. Canadien, canadienne. We double that N, which in this case is the consonant that we're going to double, and then we add the E. Now, some of them have accent changes. Look at cher and fier. Cher meaning dear or expensive, fier meaning proud. Okay, we add an accent grave, and it just keeps that sound for the féminin. Complet and complète, you add the accent, and look at this, you add the E, so it actually does change. You hear that vowel sound. The same way adding an E often changes the word. And the sound muet, which means silent, muette, meaning silent or mute. Ne and net, meaning clean. Actif, active. Naïf, naïve. These are examples where the F changes to a VE. Sometimes we have un, like bon, and bonne. Mignon, cute, mignonne. Bas changes to basse, and gros, and gras changes to grosse and grasse. Dangereux changes to dangereuse. Heureux changes to heureuse. Okay, so repeat those yourself to get used to what they sound like. Look at the phrases below. Cette station de métro est-elle dangereuse? Is that metro station, subway station dangerous? Les nouvelles banlieues se trouvent loin d'ici. The new suburbs are located far from here. Notice, we're going to go over this in a moment, but notice that in that case, the word nouvelle comes before the noun. Typically in French, it's going to come after. Remember that the first letter of adjectives of nationality is not capitalized. So even though we capitalize the A in American, for example, or the I in Italian in English, here we have a couple of examples where we don't do that in French at any time. Ahmed préfère le cinéma italien. Ahmed prefers the Italian cinema. We capitalize it in English, never en français, jamais. Laura Johnson est citoyenne américaine. Laura Johnson is an American citizen, and so we do not capitalize it in French. Descriptive adjectives whose masculine singular forms end in EUR generally derive one of three feminine forms, and they will look familiar to you. Often, changes to euse. So the first thing I thought about that you know is heureux changes to heureuse, the word for happy. Rêveur, rêveuse, dreamer. Travailleur, travailleuse, worker or hardworking. Now sometimes changes to rise. You can think of a noun right away. Acteur changes to actrice. Well, here you have conservateur changes to conservatrice, and protecteur changes to protectrice. So even though these adjectives mean the same thing, they have a different form when they become feminine. And sometimes we just add an E, inférieur or meilleur. We just add the E and they sound the same. Now, if we have two things or multiple things in a subject, when we want to then describe them with an adjective and we're writing it out, we will use the form that would agree with the pronoun we would replace it with. So, if it describes a series of two or more nouns in which at least one is masculine, it would be like calling it il, I-L-S, right? And we would use that masculine plural adjective. That is exactly what we do, even if we don't replace it with il. So, la rue et le quartier sont animés. So, both the street and the neighborhood are lively. We are going to take the street and le quartier together. That would be our subject. It would be the same as saying il. So, animé becomes plural and masculine form. Now, we do have a number of adjectives that you need to write into your notes. These adjectives have significantly different counterparts, which you will not remember if you do not treat them as if they are vocabulary words. For that reason, I've included them in your vocabulary list, which is one of the reasons that this vocab list was so long. It includes these words. You will remember many, if not most, of these words, but I want to make sure that you write them down. So either by taking out your vocab list and writing it in there, or in your notebook, please write these words. Doux becomes douce, and that means sweet or gentle. Faux becomes fausse, that means false. Favori becomes favorite, that of course means favorite. Fou becomes folle, and that means crazy. Frais becomes fraîche, this means cool or fresh. Gentille becomes gentille, double the L, add the E, that's nice. Grec and grec, that means Greek. Long and longue means long. Public and public means public. Rue and russe, with the open U here, that word is red. That's the word we use for a redhead. And vieux and vieille, irregular terms that mean old. Once you've written these down, you want to move on the video. Now, some color adjectives are named after nouns. I want you to write these nouns, adjectives into your notes. The first is argent, A-R-G-E-N-T. Argent means silver. Citron means yellow. It's a lemon. Crème means cream. Marron means chestnut or brown. Or, which should be bolded here but isn't, means gold. And orange is orange. Now there is also the word châtain. Châtain is brown, referring to brown hair or brown hairs, and it means chestnut. And you can use it in the plural form, but it's rarely used in the feminine châtaine. So here we have, elle a les yeux châtains. She has brown hair, or she has chestnut colored hair. What's unique about these words is that although they were nouns, they're being used as adjectives, and for that reason, they do not agree in number or in gender. We have a couple of examples. Il conduit une voiture marron, or elle porte une jupe bleu clair, and these are named after nouns or qualified by a second adjective like bleu clair. You might see bleu marin, which is navy blue, bleu foncé, which would be dark blue. When you see those kinds of things, you do not make them agree. They're the only adjectives in French that do not agree in number and in gender. Now, French adjectives, as I referred to earlier, are usually placed after the noun they modify. But these adjectives usually are placed before the noun. Autre, in any form of them. Autre, beau, bon, court, gentil, grand, gros, haut, jeune, joli, long, mauvais, meilleur, nouveau, petit, premier, vieux, and vrai. So please make a list of those because you will need to memorize that they may typically go before. If they do not go before, as we're going to see on the next screen, it's because their meaning changes slightly. Let's look at a couple of sentences. Je ne connais pas ce jeune homme. I don't know this young man. Vous aimez les nouveaux films? Do you like the new movies? Now here, before masculine nouns that begin with a vowel sound, instead of using beau, fou, nouveau, and vieux, we are going to use special forms of those words. Beau becomes belle, B-E-L, un bel appartement, un bel édifice. Folle, un fol espoir, a foolish hope. Nouvelle, un nouvel appartement, a new apartment. Vieil, un vieil immeuble, an old building. Please make sure you have these forms down. We do not have the problem once they become plural. We revert back to the correct plural form for the masculine words because the X acts as a Z sound. So they become, for example, des beaux édifices, des fous espoirs, des nouveaux appartements, des vieux immeubles. That's what happens when it becomes plural, so we revert back to the regular form. Please write these into your notes. L'ancien château is a former castle, whereas un château ancien becomes an ancient castle. Mon cher ami is my dear friend, but une voiture chère is an expensive car. La dernière semaine is the final week, mais la semaine dernière is last week. Une grande femme, she is a great woman, where une femme grande is a tall woman. Le même musée is the same museum, but le musée même is that very museum. Ces pauvres enfants, those poor, unfortunate children. Ces enfants pauvres are these poor, indigent children. Le prochain cours is the following class, whereas mercredi prochain is next Wednesday. Ma propre chambre is my own room, but ma chambre propre is my clean room. La seule personne is the only person, but la personne seule is the person who is all alone. Okay, once you've finished writing these down, take a look over these, study the different adjective rules that you know, and we will work with them on a fun project shortly. Bonne journée, et je vous verrai en classe. Au revoir.